Well, in studio here, we've got Mr. Ken Okolubo. He's a former commissioner in Delta State and a commissioner for information.
No, there's so far.
Sorry.
I wasn't information. I was never informed.
But you were commissioner in
Desopadec, that's what I said.
Desopadec.
Yes.
My bad. Early morning correction. Desopadec. Yeah, our pleasure as always. And he's a political affairs analyst.
Pleasure.
Great to see you again. I don't know where
I'm happy I'm back to the studio.
I'm happy too.
Yeah, in ages.
I'm happy too, and that's why
I think you should keep some of us on award by now. Those of us have been veterans of TVC.
If you say that, what are you going to say about Dr. Jide Johnson? Because you two are in the same category. Dr. Jide Johnson, another friend of the house, Chief Lecturer, Nigeria Institute of Journalism. A fine morning to you, Dr. Johnson.
Good morning to our viewers in Nigeria, and good day to all our viewers all over the world. It's a pleasure to be with you on this morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you.
And with our good friend. Long time no see.
Exactly.
Long time.
My pleasure.
Now that I have you, let me just start over there with you. The incoming administration, we're just 15 days to inauguration. There's still some work to be done. I mean, in terms of, we've been talking about the leadership in the National Assembly for a while, but now we're just talking about, well, let's look at it from this point of view. The Chief of Staff to the President, Mr. Gambari, he's been canvassing support for the incoming administration. Now, I was saying there that, there's still a few things to be done, among which I listed the sorting out the House in terms of the leadership of National Assembly. But in a more general sort of a way, Dr. Jide Johnson, talk about this enabling environment. It was an appeal by the Chief of Staff to the President. What would that be like? Because, I don't know, take a stab at it.
Well, Uncle Yori, it could be subject to various interpretations. How would the Chief of Staff to the President be making an appeal to the President to create an enabling environment? We have had elections. The winners have been declared. Cases are in court. And until there is a contrary determination by the judiciary, the President has been elected, and the members of National Assemblies have been elected, and governors across the 28 states where we had elections have been elected. So, constitutionally, by May 29, there should be an inauguration. However, those that have been charged with the responsibility of superintending over that inauguration, there are things that are expected of them. As far as I am concerned, the bulk of the responsibility lies with the Secretary to the federal government. It's just in recent times that we begin to hear things. We see the office of the Chief of Staff in the public domain. In the first instance, there's no constitutional provisions for the Chief of Staff. Okay. I've not seen, whether in the Constitution of Nigeria, whether in the Constitution of the United States of America, it's just an appointee of the President, is the head of his personal staff. So there's no constitutional provisions for that office. It is just that over time we have given too much relevance and too much influence to that particular office, and it has become politicized over time.
Okay.
The bulk of what should be done with the inauguration lies with the President giving directive to the Secretary to the federal government. The Chief of Staff has nothing except just to prepare notes, handing over notes that with respect to the presidency, all other reports for other ministries, departments and agencies of government will go through the Secretary to the federal government. So probably it's idle, and because it's idle, it's trying to look for one way or the other to get prominence. That's my interpretation, might be wrong, but that's just my valid assessment.
Well, okay, Jide, because I was wondering as he was speaking, he was speaking to Nigerians at large, I would imagine. He was speaking to Nigerians at large to, urging Nigerians to provide an enabling environment for the incoming presidents, the incoming administration to thrive.
That probably should have been left to the Minister of Information,
okay,
or the spokesperson to the President, and not to the Chief of Staff.
Okay.
His own responsibility is to ensure that the staff that the president-elect is bringing into the presidency are embedded in. Has he come up with one way or the other to do? We've seen the induction of the National Assembly. We've seen that induction of the governors forum. What we as the office of the
Chief of Staff
to the president. What have they done to that effect? So I think that they too should come up with a template in which they ensure that there's a smooth transition from one staff working with the president and the president-elect.
Okay.
That's just my
All right then, Dr. Johnson. Okay, coming over to you, Sir Ken Okolugbo. What's your take on that? Because that appeal, well, you know how politicians will speak like this, speaking to the country. There's no friendly fire or anything like that, in the sense that it is the same party, and here he is saying that, look, as part of the lead up to the handover, Nigerians, I'm urging you to just, do everything to enable the incoming administration to thrive. How do you read that kind of aspect?
Well, the Chief of Staff has not been very prominent in the way we expect him to be prominent. Yes, the Chief of Staff might not be a constitutional office like the Secretary to Government, but you must agree that Gambari is somebody who was an Under-Secretary to the United Nations and a Secretary and a Special Advisor to the Secretary General of the United Nations. So a lot was expected of him when he was appointed 3 years ago, especially when he was filling into the shoes of Abakari, who was seen as Mr. Fix-It in the government of Buhari. First, an enabling environment. True, we have a president-elect, but we shouldn't forget the fact that there are cases in court, there are matters in court, especially for the PDP and for the Labour Party. But the enabling environment is such that we know there is 180 days for the matter to be considered by the Court of Appeal, and we have 60 days by the Supreme Court. So for that period, at least we must give the government that is coming in all our support, in the terms that we have seen a government that has not done well in terms of the economy. And so I took an exception to his choice of words when he said, oh, you are handing over a government that has given us self-sufficiency in food. If you look into the comments he made, that has enshrined free and fair elections, that has fought corruption, and that has given us security. Tinubu is coming in as the president-elect. A lot of people have judged him with his performance in Lagos.
No, he's president-elect now. He's coming in as the president.
Yes, he's not been tested as a president of this country. By the time he gets into the driver's seat, he's going to see the enormous issues that are involved in becoming the president of this country. Now, when you say self-sufficiency in food, I think Gambari was being
among others.
Yes,
with self-sufficiency
in food,
amongst
other things. Nigerians will find it very funny because, in the first place, we know that 30% of Nigerians need to be providing to be in agriculture for us to be self-sufficient in food. We still know that a bag of rice is 38,000 naira, tomato is 50,000 naira. And we're talking about self-sufficiency in food. If you have self-sufficiency in food, all these things will be available. Now we're going to hand over a government that the economy is such that it's very fragile. I would have thought that Gambari would have been talking about the transition committee at this point, and showing the pros and the cons, all the mistakes, all the negativities that have gone on with the government that is leaving, so that the government that is coming in will not enter those pitfalls. That is what he should be more concerned with at this material point in time. It's not more 15 days, it's 13 days to go.
It's actually 13.
That is exactly what it is at this point in time. And if you look at the fact that the non-oil export, which was one of the main mantras of Buhari's government,
just about 2 weeks.
Yes, it's less than 2 weeks. The non-oil export has been such that it has not been able to shop our GDP. As at the first quarter, it was just maybe you can say it's a lot of money, $1,325 million, according to the National Council on Exports. Now, if you look at the projection of $5 billion for this quarter, it therefore means that the Tinubu government must shop another nothing less than $4 billion in non-oil exports. And you're looking at agriculture, you're looking at mining, which are the only two main products. And where are they making this money from? Indorama and Dangote. Those are the main exports that has come in this first quarter, apart from things like cocoa, soya beans, and those are not the things that like Gary and others that you find from the other places. Then the key factors that you're also going to look at I'm looking at his statement he made, was the signing of Buhari's signature to those things that were not on the concurrent list, that he moved from the exclusive list to the concurrent list. The key factor we wanted Buhari to move into the exclusive list was minerals, solid minerals for the states to be able to explore and pay tax to the center. But he moved railway, which is key. He moved electricity. We must commend him for that. But he's moving it at the twilight of his career when he's leaving. So he's moving it at the time that Tinubu is not going to come in and have to allow the states to start generating electricity. And Gencos will now go over to discos. Then discos will now start distributing. So if you look at it in all said and done, I think Gambari was not being honest and sincere about his assessment of the outgoing government.
Okay.
Yes. Well, in terms of creating an enabling environment, I don't think they have created an enabling environment in the economic aspect. And this economy matters a lot in such decisions.
How do you see it, Dr. Johnson, when the chief of staff, to the president was talking about appealing to Nigerians, so that the incoming president, that is the president-elect, can build on, quote, the positive record of President Muhammadu Buhari?
Yeah, well, it's important for all hands to be on deck until there is a contra-judicial interpretation. There is a president-elect. And all Nigerians, regardless of our political divide, regardless of our ethnicity, regardless of our opinion or political persuasion, we must put our hands on deck to correct the wrongs of the last 8 years. There is an enormous job to be done. There's no doubt about that. And that's why I take his appeal. And that's why I'm joining also in that appeal, to appeal to every Nigerian. You see, we don't have any other country except this country, and this country must work. There are some of us that don't believe in foreign nations, and there are some of us that don't believe that foreign nations will help Nigeria to grow. We say charity begins at home. If Nigeria is going to be developed, if Nigeria is going to be prosperous, it has to start with Nigerians working together as one, working together in unity. And that's why I agree with him with respect to that. We must put all our hands on deck. Because look, when you look at the commodity price index, when you look at product price index, like Ken said, it's not funny. Look at, I saw the inflation. If we have double-digit inflation, I think it was 22.2% inflation rate. That's what we have. And if anybody thinks it will be business as usual, no. It's tough decisions will be taken. Tough decisions for us to move away from this quagmire. The president-elect, once sworn in, will have to take tough decisions. And it requires the support of all Nigerians, regardless of their political party. There is no time for politicking. Now, this is time for re-administration. I agree with him with that. And then those issues in court, once the court dispenses with it, whatever the outcome of what the court comes out with, every one of us will rally around, because we don't have any other nation. See what is happening in Sudan. See what has happened in Libya. See what has happened in Tunisia and other countries where you have the society being divided. So we have no other country. Some people might have opportunity to travel abroad. They might have an opportunity to take citizenship of other country. But there are those of us that are Nigerian true and true. We believe in our country. We believe this is the best nation you can ever find on the planet Earth. And if you get the leadership right, I can assure you that everything will be right with Nigeria. We are not just giant of Africa, just for the saying it. There are potentials that have been seen in Nigeria and in Nigerians that make everybody globally to acclaim Nigeria to be the giant of Africa. And it's time for us to fulfill that destiny.
Indeed.
We can only do that unity.
Ken, why I think this call is sort of important is that because of the nature of the election, look at the percentages that people won by. Even look at the percentage by which Tinubu won.
Yes.
It wasn't something. It wasn't a landslide, so to speak.
Oh, certainly.
So because of that, there will be a lot of people that did not vote, for Tinubu, but he's coming in. He's going to be president of all. But then people have to know, I imagine, that the election is over. It has been called. Even it has been queried, and in due course, it would have been that would have been dissected. So any way you look at it, there's going to be, in terms of percentages, maybe up to 60% of the voting population that did not vote. But so these are the people that have to now know that, okay, the quote-unquote game is over. Can we now settle down to business? There's no Muslim president, there's no Christian president, there's no Southern president, there's no Northern president, but there is just the president of Nigeria. And if that is going to be one of the biggest things that you'll have to handle. He'll have to handle himself in that way, so that it is seen more than heard that this is our president.
Well, Tinubu has a whole lot to handle in that aspect, because first of all, until the case is settled in the Supreme Court, a whole lot of Nigerians will not still accept Tinubu as their president. Or like you have rightly said, today Tinubu is our president and is going to be sworn in on the 29th of May. And that's why we must do all we can to rally around to support that government as it stands today. But a lot of Nigerians have also seen it from the perspective that the elections were flawed. If you remember when Yar'Adua came into government in 2007, he said he had to honestly accept that his elections were flawed. But in INEC will tell you that did it substantially affect the results of the election, even if we accept that the elections were flawed. But you see, what happened in these elections was that there were the goods, there were the bads, and there were the uglies. But the ugly was a whole lot. We must accept it. And for Tinubu to be able to move beyond that, he must be able to maybe set up a Truth and Reconciliation Committee. I don't know whatever he would want to do, but he will have to reach out to the opposition. And he will have to welcome them. He will have to be able to show Nigerians that, look, I am ready to work. I am ready to serve. I am ready to make that change. Oh, okay, that change people say I did in Lagos, or you keep attributing to me. I'm ready to impact it on Nigeria. I'm ready to move beyond that. Because if you look at the elections, like you rightly said, it wasn't a landslide, but the other two parties didn't make 25% of 24 states, which is a requirement you must have to become the president of Nigeria. So you had three competing parties, the APC, the PDP, and the Labour Party. But as it stands, INEC, which is the chief authority, has declared the APC as the winner. The Labour Party is completely dissatisfied. The PDP is completely dissatisfied. But, you know, the only thing I query about their petition is that I have seen the petition, and I know in election petitions, they are very technical. And you know you have very strong lawyers on each side. You have an Oladipeku who Tinubu has employed as his lead lawyer. And you know, in election petitions, you must be able to come out with a table to show where overvoting took place, to show you where you're supposed to have had your votes, and to show that you will be able to be declared a winner after the votes that have been taken off. You are able to now score 25% of 2/3. I believe it's a very tall order because of the experiences I've had in election petitions. I haven't been to election petition tribunals myself. It's easier to deal with cases of Senate, cases of House of Rep, cases of gubernatorial than presidential. But I'm not saying it is impossible. But as it stands, he has to look at all encompassing factors at this point, because there are people that are very hot. We have never been divided so much along religious, ethnic lines in this country for a very long period. And if you look at the voting pattern, look at the Southeast, for example, for crying out aloud. Tinubu did not make up to 2% of the votes. Even Atiku did not make up to the state PDP used to win. Atiku did not even make 25% in any of the Southeast states. So would we hide the fact that the Southeast voted along ethnic lines? They did. So then look at Lagos too, which is cosmopolitan. Tinubu lost Lagos State. Who will believe in his wildest dream that Tinubu will lose Lagos State?
This election, yes. To quote you, there are those who are saying, sister dog, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
That's exactly what it is.
This is how some people are seeing it. But there was a decisive victory for the president.
Certainly. You can't take that away from the fact that INEC has made that declaration. And I keep telling people that they should face reality. Stop being sentimental. Somebody was telling me the other day that, oh, Ken, you used to, this is not you. I was on the program. Maybe I think I was on your program on YouTube. Sorry, on Zoom. And somebody sent me a Twitter on my Twitter at Ken Okolobo. Is this Ken Okolobo?
PDP.
How do you
so expected a kind of hostility?
I don't want this hostility. And I said, no, there's a time for everything. A new administration is coming in. You can't keep giving the same fire you were giving to Buhari on the new administration that has not even started. that has not kicked off. How do you ever want Nigeria to work if you just want to continue to just be on the negative? Yes, you must always stay on the fact. The fact remains that Tinubu is the president-elect of Nigeria, and he's going to be president on the 29th of May. There is nothing you can do about it.
Really?
That is the truth about it. So what do you want? You want to continue to be on the social media, on Twitter, on Facebook?
When you say there's nothing you could do about it.
You can contest it.
You can contest
When I say there's nothing you can do about it, there's nothing you can do about him being sworn in on the 29th of May. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Up until the court decides otherwise. And that's the reality Nigerians have to face. So what do we do between now and when the Supreme Court decides? Are we not going to have a country? Are we going to be in a banana republic? Is that what you want? So it's Tinubu that will have to take those tough decisions and tell Nigerians that, look, I am in charge. And that's why I said in that program, or I think I said it before now, that the first appointment he must make on the 29th of May will determine the shape in which his government is going to be seen. Yes.
Jide, back to you. So, as I was saying, there's absolutely no doubt as to who won the election. That will be Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, even if some people are contesting it, which is their right. But that fact on the ground now is, because it's no news, I said before that there will be something in the region of 60% of people that will say, well, when I cast my vote, it wasn't in that direction. But still, these people will look forward to the benefits of good governance. There can't be a situation where they will be shortchanged when it comes to that. So it was in that context, perhaps, and that's why we're discussing this. It's important that we just have to look at how, well, the Chief of Staff himself said, the Chief of Staff to the President has said, you need to have an environment such that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, as the president, when the time comes for him to be called that name, will be building on the positive records of President Muhammadu Buhari, of which there were quite a few. Yes, there also were complaints, but there were quite a few as well.
Well, I think what the Chief of Staff should have done is to even appeal. The confusion in the polity is not even coming from the opposition with respect to APC. The confusion in the polity in the last 2 weeks is in respect to the zoning or not zoning of the principal officers in the National Assembly, and I need the number of programs you did with that.
Talk about shooting yourself in the foot.
So that's the area, because the APC must know how to manage its success. From the election, they had more House of Assembly members, they had more governors, they had more senators, they had more House of Rep. So they should be able to know how to manage their success. There should be an internal mechanism of managing that success. And I think that the Chief of Staff is trying to use a sweeping remark rather than focusing on those gladiators that are fighting to be Speaker, Senate, President, and the rest of it within the ranks and file of the APC. And I think that's the area the party needs to look in, what the National Working Committee of the party and National Executive Committee and the critical stakeholders of the party needs to have a meeting whereby they harmonize all their views and all their thoughts with respect to moving forward.
Right.
Because there seems to be a discordant tone internal. So what we have internally within the APC as a party has spilled over to the national polity, and that's the area in which the Chief of Staff should speak into and should address. He should have addressed, or he should have written to the national chairman with respect to gaining support. They say that charity begins at home. Now, if there is a united front on behalf of the APC with respect to managing their successes they have in 2022 election, then you are starting on a solid foundation. The party itself is the solid foundation you need to build on. So once that is sorted out, I can assure you. And when people talk about the issue of religion, the issue of ethnicity, you know that nobody brought that issue again. It was when the issue of the National Assembly, leadership of the National Assembly came to fore that you see them talking about, for the unity of this country, the Senate President and the Speaker will not have to be this, will not have to be that. It is the political class that lightens the fire of ethnicity, religion. Nigerians don't care. I've told people, look, when the rain falls, the rain does not distinguish between you whether you're a Christian or you're a Muslim or whether you're traditional. And for crying out loud, do we have two religions in Nigeria? What of those that are traditional worshippers? Which office are they going to give to them? Is it because they kept quiet and they've not asked for their own? When you begin to share office on the basis of religion, other religions too can come out and ask for their own. What we are looking for is performance. If somebody has the capacity to deliver.
Exactly.
Now, on the strength of the last election, APC ran on Muslims ticket. I knew a lot of Christians voted for that ticket. They voted against the Christian ticket, not on the basis of that religion, but on the basis of their belief in the capacity of the heirship of the ticket. So it is the political class, for their self-serving, selfish interest, that bring the issue of religion and ethnicity to play.
Okay.
You could see some people gathering together and say,
one moment, please.
The Northwest contributed highest vote.
Okay.
So the Northwest you have the speaker, and the Northwest you have the Senate president, and it's coming from within APC.
One moment, please. Let me bring in. I have Mr. Joshua, who has called in from Irewolede and he's been holding on for quite a while. Apologies, Mr. Joshua. Good morning to you.
No problem. Good morning, and good morning to your guests.
Yes, thank you.
I appreciate the way they are hitting the point very straight. I would say that we should at this time appeal to those who are saying they are in the opposition. Appeal to them to come to terms with the fact that they are Nigerians. Without Nigeria, we can't be Nigerians. You know, even before that election, there were people who have decided not to be Nigerians again. They were saying all manners of things like Nigeria should go up in flames, Nigeria should die, the country should not exist again. That election was really an escape for us. And it was something that tells us that, yes, I think we are ready to be a nation. And we are ready to build something for all of us. And I'm happy with the way your guests are talking. They should know that there are some of us who don't have any other nation. I have Nigeria. I'm a Nigerian. And for crying out loud, let us live as one. We have gone through the election and we are now at the threshold of building a nation. I believe we have the right leadership to do that. So we should appeal to them to come together, drop the sword, and let us all come together as Nigerians and build. As soon as you cannot build alone, but we can build with him. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Joshua, calling in from.
That's a very interesting perspective he looked at it, because, like you said, we don't have any other country but Nigeria.
And there's been so much
hurt
that people have been saying so many things that you can't even believe they mean those things they are saying.
That's why I said there's a whole lot on the president to help this healing process. It depends on
people have said
he's going to be the one
that will vacate this country.
People have said that they're going to check out. People are tired. People cannot imagine Tinubu becoming the president of Nigeria. It has to be Peter Obi. You know, people just have their different, especially when you go on the social media. So a lot depends on the president to come in and say, look, we want to heal this country. But looking at what my colleague in Abuja said about this, the secularity of this country cannot be negotiated. I don't agree that we should ignore the fact that you're a Muslim or you're a Christian.
No.
We can't have a Muslim as a president, a Muslim as a vice president, a Muslim as a senate president, a Muslim as the speaker of the house.
And nobody's even advocating for that.
Nobody's going to say.
Nobody's even going to bring it up.
You shouldn't say it's only the politicians that are talking about it. To me, Akpabio's choice, it's a holistic one, and it's one of the square peg in the square hole I think the APC has done this time around in terms of choosing the senate president. Apart from the fact that Akwa gave 160,000 votes to the APC, and PDP got just about 240,000. When I say just about, because Akwa has always been a PDP state. Akwa is somebody that has come with a huge experience of having been one of the most successful governors we have had when he was a governor. He has been a minority leader in the Senate. He's been the minister of the Niger Delta. And so what else do you say when you say you're zoning it to the south? And when you're zoning it to the south also gave APC a whole number of votes. As much as those of us who were canvassing for a southeastern president, especially when I was in the PDP, always thought the Southeast should first take the shot at the presidency. The reality of the matter now is that the Southeast cannot make a case for themselves because they did not give the ruling party the required votes they were supposed to give the ruling party. The only place
Okalo has said that
we can't sweep that under the carpet. Now you have had 5 Southeasterners. Now you have had 5 Southeasterners as a Senate president before now. 5.
Yes.
This is the highest from any region. You talk of Igorem, you talk of Okaibo, you talk of Payasanyim, you talk of the man from Enugu. what's his name now? I'm trying to remember. It's Wabara. Then you also talk of
Namani.
That's 5 solid Senate presidents coming from the Southeast. Then you now have Ekweremadu that was there for 12 years as deputy Senate president. Then you have Hijika, or what's his name, the man from Imo that was deputy speaker. So the truth about it is that, look, let us stop this ethnicity thing. Let us look at reality. This is the most dangerous. Yes. Of who
I don't believe
food on our table. Bread is over 1,000 naira.
Everybody has.
You know, you're buying akara these days. You need like.
Okay, let me bring Reverend Dominic on. Good morning, Reverend Dominic. Sorry for keeping you waiting.
Yeah, good morning, Yori. I wish you would give me some seconds to...
I will. Please, go ahead.
Now, good morning, Professor Jide. Good morning, my friend Kane.
Yes,
my pleasure.
Yeah, good morning, sir. Professor Jide and Kane, have we lost empathy in Nigeria? We are talking about food prices, and I heard what the Chief of Staff said earlier. I have said it several times. Dr. Jide, you are the information expert. Immediately, you do propaganda. In democracy, you inform. But this government of mine, which I supported, have been doing propaganda in place of information for many years. Now, I'll say this. If I talk of food, what they say we have food not to eat. We are sufficient to eat for food in Nigeria. Professor Jide, listen to me. There's a thing called food basket. In Benue State. In Benue State today, there are 22 local governments. 20 local governments is in charge, is taken over by either men or bandits or Boko Haram. Even though we don't know the name to call them. 20 local governments. In Nassau this morning, they are doing mass burial of 15 people. In Kaduna, in Zamfara. This government that is going to say, most of our problem not achieve was security. Look, the next government tackle security very well. But nobody's talking about that. You know, we have lost sympathy. Every day, there's a mass burial in Niger, in Zamfara, every day, not every 2 days. Nobody's talking about that. That's the right way. Please, Prophet Jide, please, I would like to have a meeting with all of you. I want us to formulate a law, a bill, that will say that we must do our elections 6 months before handing over. So if we do 6 months before handing over, at least we give a timeline to appeal courts tribunal and speak courts. So within 4 months or 5 months, we must have finished electoral issues. So the person who is going to take over government, every one of us will whatever we need. Yes. And that will stop this mess I saw on Thursday. That people went to court to stop inauguration. What kind of judgment what kind of human being like that?
All right then. Thank you very much, Reverend Dominic. We quickly ran out of time for this first half. Got to go off on a quick break now. Stay there, please, because we'll be right back to continue taking your calls as we have this conversation in studio.
Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
Now that Nigeria's next president has been decided at the poll on February 25, attention is shifted to May 29 Inauguration Day, the commencement of a new 4-year tenure of Nigeria's 16th president since 1960, when the country gained independence. It's going to be the 7th inauguration ceremony since the beginning of the 4th Republic in 1999, and President-elect Bola Tinubu and Vice President-elect Kashim Shettima will take the oath of office. Join me, Nifemi Oguntoye, every weekday on TVC News for the countdown to the historic May 29 Inauguration Day, as we bring you all updates, political intrigues, and in-depth analysis of people and events that you need to know. The countdown to May 29 Inauguration Day, live at 6 p.m. every weekday, only on TVC News.
Okay, welcome back, and we're looking at 13 odd days to the inauguration of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the President of the Federal Republic. We're looking at canvassing support for the incoming administration, as the Chief of Staff to the President has done, and that is the discussion point this morning. It has ranged from what is even the President, what is even the Chief of Staff's concern in all of this one? That is on the one hand, ranging back to in studio here where there's been a multiplicity of views. But in the meantime, Mr. George has come on. Good morning to you, Mr. George.
Good morning, Theory.
Good morning.
Good morning to Ken Okolibo and to Dr. Johnson.
Yes.
Uncle Larry, I don't know whether Dr. Johnson has also Jafar. This is he talks on Skype. I don't know. He left us.
he's reaching you from Nigeria. He's reaching you from Abuja.
Oh, okay, fine. So we're happy that he's still around.
He is very much around still.
Yes. Uncle Larry, if the Chief of Staff to the President is listening to me, I would have advised him that he should direct his advice to the Kappa inside the House there. Because these are the same people that didn't want people to be elected as president. We know what they were doing about currency. We know what they were doing about fuel scarcity. We know the role they are playing in integrating the opposition in all these things that are happening to ensure that inauguration does not take place. So if he is making an appeal, he should first of all direct it in-house, right there inside the Apple Rock. If I had an opportunity to talk to him, that's what I would have told him.
Okay.
With that as it may, there is no reason why one should worry himself about what these elements are doing. It is normal. It's normal in the sense that when something that is good is coming, the opposition against the goodness is always very strong. And that is why you see that there is so much opposition against the emergence of Tinubu. The number of people in this country who are enjoying the role at the expense of the majority of Nigerians, there are very many, and they wouldn't want that exploitation to stop. So why I said it is normal is because what they are doing now is to make sure the status quo remains. But it will not. It's already gotten out of their hands. They are afraid that when Tinubu enters power, they may not have grip on us again. All the things they were enjoying at the essence of the populace may take them. That's why they are doing all these things. So the reasonable people should just ignore them and forge ahead. Then lastly, sir, I hope Ken is warming up to be part of Asiwaju's government. He needs some brains like him in his government. The government is going to look beyond APC as a party.
Indeed.
So I'm serving you a notice.
Okay.
Are you going to give me an APC card?
Thank you very much.
But if I'm handed an APC card, I'm very happy to.
Coming back to you, Jide, in Abuja there, you spoke on this earlier that APC itself, the ruling party, needs to get its house in order, especially when you look at its conduct right through the whole electioneering process, to come up with an aspirant and all sorts of shenanigans that we've got. Even very, very recently, talking about the leadership of the National Assembly and conversations around it, there have been some angry words spoken about its leadership, about the leadership of the party itself. So that sort of just, when you were speaking about the APC itself needs to get its house in order so that it can now look at the nation and, face it with a united sort of a household. Otherwise, where are we going to be? Right now, there is reason to believe that, how does one put it delicately? But that the leadership of the party, shall we say, the incoming executive are not too happy with what they think of as, what is this word now? Instigation. Instigation by certain people to cause trouble.
Well, the foundation for representative democracy is the party system. That's the foundation for representative democracy. And if that foundation is faulty, there's nothing you can build on it. I think that with if I'm given the role of a consultant, I will ask that the national chairman of that party should go and sit down. Talking from the point of view of the shenanigans which you pointed out, if you look at the circumstances surrounding the primaries of the party in the picking of their presidential candidate and the management of the election across board with respect to senatorial candidate or non-senatorial candidate of the party in some certain constituency, I'll ask him to go. And then if you also look at the criticism some of the National Executive Committee members have alleged against him, I'm not too sure that he's running the party in a democratic, consultative, and all-involving manner. Because, look, it's about managing success. There shouldn't be too much noise about party zoning offices or doing all of that. This is an age-long tradition within the party. But the most important thing is for you to involve the critical stakeholders in this decision making. Once you involve the critical stakeholders, then you are able to manage the crisis internally. It won't spill over to the national politics. The challenge we are having now is that it has spilled over into the national politics, and you are bringing a lot of issues that we thought have been buried and have been brought to bear in our national conversation. Okay. Look, everybody knew quite all right that there will be an inauguration come May 29. It's a constitutional matter. You can't stop that. Anyone that lost an election has a right to approach the court. The court will adjudicate on the matter. And whatever the outcome, let me use the case of Osun for example. There were cases, the governor was sworn in, the tribunal nullified his election, the appeal court reinstated him, and then the Supreme Court affirmed the decision of the appeal court. Was there any crisis? Was there any noise? Everybody went about their normal business. So that is the beauty of democracy. We have finished election. There is the inauguration is part of post-election activity. Declaration of result, issuance of certificate, inauguration, and then election petition, and then adjudication on those matters are part of the post-election. So one will not disturb the other. And once we have gotten to the final phase, what we need to do is to put all our hands on deck. When Reverend Dominic called, we said Nigeria is in a quagmire. The way you can tell me to, when Buhari became the president, they were selling the buffet. If you go to Buka, they were selling it 250 naira. Then it moved to 300 naira. Now they are selling the buffet 1,200 naira, 1,500 naira. In 2015, I didn't service my car.
Which you consider the delicacy.
We know what a buffet is.
That is what I'm telling them.
The oil is 28,000 naira now. So we know the mess Nigeria is in.
Indeed.
So the chief of staff can come and say whatever he wants to say. The reality on ground, every Nigerian knows. And that's why we must put all our hands on deck to ensure that everything works out fine. Indeed. We give some support to who has been elected. And if there is a contrary decision, every Nigerian will rally around it. Look at that lady, the younger lady. That attempted the Guinness cooking record, and then she set the record. You see the way Nigerians gave support. They didn't look at her tribe, they didn't look at her religion, they didn't look at her ethnicity. All Nigerians, regardless of their walks of life, supported her. That's the Nigerian spirit. That is what other nations sees in us, and we need to start seeing that in ourselves. Until we see that in ourselves and work together as one nation, as one people, under God, not under religion, under God, then we will not have a nation, and not a divided nation that we are.
Ken, did you want to add anything? Because I was...
The thing about it is that the truth about it is that it's an APC government.
It is.
And the people must rally around at this point.
It's an APC government.
And the APC government is the ruling, encompassing of is the ruling party. Nigeria, and is the ruling party. So the absolute truth now is that whatever you must do to make the government succeed, you must at this point in time contribute. Until any other decision comes, just like we saw
talking about Nigerians
in Osun,
but as George said, that he would even like to direct that advice at the APC itself.
APC, for example, I like what Dominic said. Or was it Dominic or George talked about what happened before the elections? the mess we found ourselves in the Naira exchange. Naira was exchanging for Naira. It's interesting that Emefiele says he wants to go on a 10-month study leave. He shouldn't be granted that 10-month study leave.
Let me come back to you because
what mess we actually found ourselves in.
I lost Kesandu. Yes, I beg your pardon, but I lost Kesandu, who had called in from Owerri, Imo State, and thankfully he's called back. Thank you very much for calling back, Kesandu. Good morning to you.
Uncle Yori, good morning. Kesandu came from Imo State. Good morning to your guest.
Sure.
Uncle Yori, my interest is basically on when the issue of my zone came up and how it's been looked at. Uncle Yori, the truth about it is that, yes, I must tell you, I didn't support the president-elect. And I had my reasons. And I believe my own candidate was better for the good growth and development of this country. But there were some of our brothers, and if you come to my state, my governor and some other people who stood firmly for the cause they believed in. So it is unfair at this material time for people to actually look at our region and look at it like, okay, probably on the basis of what they brought to the big party or anything. Let me also say this. Remember, these were some of the issues we talked about in this past 8 years of Buhari's administration and how the Southeasterners were treated. What will stop the new government, the same APC, because I believe government is continuing. So if they believe at some point that we were shortchanging the previous administration, Buhari's administration, the same APC, why would they consider somebody from the Southeast for this head of any of the legislative houses? It is not too much to ask of. Because if you consider the presidency of this country, how we have presented our argument, you would have seen that, yes, we agree that the president should come to the South. And if you come to the South, there are three tripod stands. It is only the Southeast that have not had this yet. So why didn't everybody support the Southeasterners to actually get the presidency of Nigeria? Because the South have gotten, the Southwest have gotten. Now this is another second term of the Southwest. Now all we are saying is that why don't you take the leadership of the president of the Senate or that of the House of Representatives? See, any of these are brothers and sisters. From my senatorial zone, there's this other woman, and she's the only woman there. Why would you give her the speakership of the House? So it is unfortunate that you people are not really considering the Southeasterners in the scheme of things. And some of them who actually believe in the cause of the APC, please allow them in the state. Consider them. Nigeria, since the president has won, it should be a collective thing. It should not be segregated.
All right.
That's the true position of things. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes.
I'm going to come straight to you, Jide.
Like what I was saying, when I talked about the CBN governor and the policies that were there before the elections. Yes, he wanted to stop vote buy, but at the end of the day, you caused so much economic hardship. 3.2% was the projected GDP growth by the World Bank for 2023. What the CBN governor has done has completely disrupted that projection. And the fact is, this was the presidency, because the Attorney General of the Federation was involved, the CBN governor answerable to the president was involved. Was it like a fifth columnist trying to hurt themselves or destroy their own? And to what the caller has said, if I may contribute, I said for people like us, when I was in the PDP, I believed that the presidency should go to the Southeast. I was very vehement about it. I was vociferous about it. And it is unfortunate that the PDP decided to go the way they went. They decided to zone the presidency to the north, which is one of the things that have almost torn that party apart as it is now. I'm happy even Atiku said it himself that the PDP is an unenviable position as it is right now.
But
he came from his own assessment of the party. And so those of us who thought it should have been the Southeast, Peter Obi, it was like a hurricane.
Indeed.
He was like a hurricane, but eventually he has not been declared the president of the country as it is now. So the ruling party that has been declared the president of the country,
he didn't even come second.
But I'm trying to clear here.
Okay.
The ruling party that has been declared the president, that have been given the presidency, have fought a battle and have won the battle. And for all they cared now, as a political analyst, they're looking at what did you people bring on the table?
Exactly. And
you shouldn't be sentimental about it at this point. He's trying to be sentimental about it. That's what I'm trying to say. What did you bring on the table? You must bring something on the table for us to share the booty.
Audius Okalu had said that if they didn't vote this time, they can vote another time. Good morning, Bayo in the UK.
Good morning, Mr. Yori.
Good morning.
What a very good show you guys are doing there. I just want to contribute that, first of all, we Nigerians, we have to think about, it's not about the government all the time. We have to think about what it is that we can do to empower ourselves, because everything is being put down on the government. So, supporting Tinubu and his administration, I think it's the best thing. Because that's talking about electors running as a family. Not the ex-generals, the likes of Obasanjo and his cohort. Now, if you look at where Tinubu has been coming from, he's the only guy that stood against Obasanjo and is still standing. You understand? When the money wasn't paid to Lagos State, these guys looked for, all the things that he could do, it's an internal revenue to bring the economy to Lagos. And look at what Lagos is today. Lagos is booming. Everybody wants to go to Lagos. So the way I look at things, we shouldn't be thinking about what can Nigeria do for us? What can we do for Nigeria? We have to start changing mentality of people in Nigeria. Because look, the way things are going. If you look at Dubai, for example, just one man takes Dubai around, and a lot of people are going there. Dubai is a Muslim country. It doesn't matter. I'm a Christian. I don't care whether you're a Muslim or a Christian running the affairs of the government. The major thing is when you do right by the people will follow you.
Indeed.
So we should stop the issues of whether the person is a Christian or the person is a Muslim. Let's put those people that are capable in doing the work. Then the country will move forward. Look at UK, for example. The guy really in charge of UK, for example, is not British. I mean, he's British, but he's not, a core English white man. So I rest my case. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for calling in from the UK, Bio. We can't say that often enough. And Tinubu himself has said it since the election ended, and the result has been announced. Irrespective of whatever else is going on, I think Tinubu has been as pains to say that he is really going to work his behind off for this country. This is something that he's been working on for over 3 decades. And so it's not as if, he doesn't know what needs to be done. As you know, everybody will agree that Tinubu is one heck of a student of the Nigerian polity. He's been at it for all that time. So there's no doubt that the way Tinubu is going to run things and his team, it's going to be all inclusive. But I almost use the word hate that is coming from the public space. And I look at it and I don't even understand. Nigeria is not really a Christian nation like that. Nigeria is not a Muslim nation like that. But suddenly we don't hear anything else apart from religions. Who was it? It was Jide who said it earlier. That how about the other religions? How about the Aboriginal religions and all the traditionalists, Ahmadiyya and all the other ones of them, and Ogun and Shango and everything? If those ones were to organize themselves into a bloc,
are completely in the minority where we have 2 prominent religions.
Okay.
Well, from what you have said, Tinubu will have to walk the talk. That's the truth. The buck stops at his table. It's not enough for one to say he has wanted this for 3 decades. Now he has gotten it. Nigerians are looking at him. He's going to take over, and you see people that admire. But he's going to take over. People that admire Tinubu at this time should not even admire him so much. Tinubu is coming in at a very difficult period in this country. It's coming at the time that Nigeria, I will keep saying it, is divided so much among the ethnic and religious line. It's coming at a time that Nigerians view these elections. We have never had a movement like the Labour movement in the history of this country. We've never had a movement where one person changed the political party and got over 6 million votes. We have never had a movement where the youth see this person as the one that they wanted to be the president of this country, even though the election says otherwise. So Tinubu is coming in at a very difficult time where he's going to have to now rule those 6 million people. Of course, it cannot wall up there. We don't expect him to wall up.
Maybe you've heard it said that.
But he must be able to.
This is the very climate.
And impacting them that, look, I'm going to be the president of all. And these are the tough decisions I'm going to take. I'm not going to be sentimental.
Those who are close to him, you must have heard it, say this is the very climate in which Tinubu thrives. It's not.
Well, to be fair, I live in Lagos. Even though I also live in Delta, I live in Lagos, and I must be very fair. Tinubu goes for technocrats. He doesn't go for sentiments. He wants people that can deliver. So that is what he has shown. But you see, people say Lagos is not Nigeria.
It isn't.
So it is until he now sits on that driver's seat, we will now see if he's going to be able to, reenact that thing that people know him for.
It remains to be seen.
Yeah, it remains to be seen.
It remains to be seen.
Just 13 days from now, that very first announcement he's going to make, the secretary to government, the chief of staff, those two very key appointments that do not have to go through the Senate clearing, would tell the direction in which Tinubu's government is going to go through.
Excellent. Actually, Dr. Jide Johnson that was with us, we thank him in absentia because the wavelength or whatever they call data, it stepped in and we don't have many more. So, Dr. Jide Johnson, thank you very much for joining with us on the program. The other thing, of course, is that, as I was saying, and you also sort of acceded at least part of the way, is that these kind of difficult positions, Tinubu has faced them before. He's going to come back. He's going to face them again. Those who are around him, as I was saying earlier, know that it is in these very difficult, almost impossible times that you now see a thriving of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I'm going to have to leave it here. Thank you very much, Ken. Ken Okolugbo, political affairs analyst. Let me just limit myself to that one.
Thank you very much. That's what I even like most.
So that's our program today then. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Yori Folare. Bye-bye for now.
Never miss a moment. Instant breaking news from all over the globe. Live streaming of your favorite programs delivered directly to you. Watch anytime from anywhere on your mobile or smart devices.